In the lush kingdom of Kapilavatthu, where the rivers whispered ancient tales and the trees stood as silent sentinels, King Suddhodana's heart was heavy with the absence of his son, Siddhartha. For nearly 7 years, there had been no word, no sign of the prince who had left the palace in search of truth. Then, like a ripple across calm waters, news reached the king. Siddhartha was in Rajagraha, and he claimed enlightenment. Overwhelmed with joy and relief to know his son was alive, Suddhodana swiftly sent a messenger to beckon Siddhartha home. The king's heart swelled with anticipation, picturing the reunion, imagining his son walking through the palace gates. However, destiny had woven a different path. The messenger, upon meeting the Buddha at Velluvana, the serene bamboo grove near Rajagraha, found himself captivated by the words of Dharma. So profound were these teachings, so deep their resonance, that the messenger, entranced, decided to become a monk, completely forgetting the king's message. More messengers were sent, each one meeting the same fate, their hearts awakened by the Buddha's profound wisdom. Finally, in exasperation, Suddhodana entrusted his closest advisor with the task, allowing him to become a monk only after delivering the message. Thus, the Buddha learned of his father's longing and, in compassion, consented to return to Kapilavatthu. Word of his homecoming spread like a gentle breeze, stirring excitement and curiosity throughout the kingdom. Upon his arrival, the Buddha, accompanied by his disciples, chose to stay in a tranquil park outside the town, entering only in the mornings to beg for alms. This humble act, so contrary to royal customs, shocked Suddhodana. The king, unable to fathom his son's choice to sleep under a tree and beg in the streets, felt a mixture of awe and distress. Accompanied by relatives and ministers, Suddhodana went to meet Siddhartha. Upon seeing his son, radiant with dignity and serenity, the king was struck by a wave of conflicting emotions. His pride in his son's majestic presence clashed with his distress at the unconventional path Siddhartha had chosen. "You are degrading your family's dignity," Suddhodana couldn't help but utter, his voice tinged with a father's anguish. The Buddha, calm and compassionate, replied, "You are speaking to your son, the prince, the person who no longer exists. O Suddhodana, on becoming enlightened, one becomes a member of the family of the noble ones, and their dignity depends only on wisdom and compassion." In that moment, Suddhodana's perception shifted. The figure before him was not just Siddhartha, his son, he was the Buddha, the enlightened one, a teacher to all mankind. The realization filled him with a mixture of awe, sadness, and a burgeoning sense of pride. As they sat together, the king's gaze lingered on his son, his heart yearning to address him by his name. "Siddhartha," he whispered silently in his heart, "come back to your aged father and be his son again." But the resolve in Siddhartha's eyes, the serene determination, held him back. A sense of loss, profound and poignant, enveloped Suddhodana. Breaking the silence, the king spoke, his voice laden with emotion. "I would offer you my kingdom, but if I did, you would treat it as mere ashes." The Buddha responded with gentle wisdom. "I know that the king's heart is full of love and that he feels deep grief for his son's sake. But let go of the ties of love that bind him to the son whom he lost and embrace with equal kindness all his fellow beings, and he will receive in his place a greater one than Siddhartha. He will receive the Buddha, and the truth will enter into his heart." These words, like a balm, soothed Suddhodana's troubled heart. His eyes, brimming with tears, shone with a dawning understanding. Alas! The overwhelming sorrow has passed away. At first, my heart was heavy, but now I reap the fruit of your great renunciation. In that sacred moment, under the ancient trees of Kapilavatthu, a father and son transcended their earthly roles. Suddhodana saw not just his son in the Buddha but a guide to a deeper truth, a truth that illuminated the path to liberation from suffering. And in the Buddha's eyes, Suddhodana was not just a king, but a being on the cusp of awakening, a soul yearning for enlightenment. Thus, the tale of Suddhodana and Siddhartha, a tale of love, loss, and enlightenment, echoed through the ages, a reminder of the profound transformations that await us on the path of wisdom and compassion.